Okay, there's supplements that you should take and supplements that you absolutely should not take. And that's going to change depending on where you are in life. It's not a one-size-fits-all, set in stone for life thing. We need to constantly be knowing what's going to work and what's not. So in this video, I'm going to break down the supplements that people over the age of 50 really should avoid from an overall health perspective. So we'll cover 6 of them. All right, let's go ahead and let's jump right in. If you haven't already, I do ask that you hit the red subscribe button and then hit the bell icon to turn on notifications so you never ever miss a beat whenever we're posting our daily videos. The first one we need to talk about is one called Kava. This is a common anti-anxiety root. People use this thing all the time just to kind of chill them out. Okay, they come home from work, they're stressed out, and it has a similar effect to a very low dose of alcohol, right? So it's common. The thing is, just like alcohol, it can be toxic. The Journal of Drug and Alcohol published a study that found that when they looked at GGT scores, which kind of measures toxicity and everything like that in the liver, they found that Kava definitely triggered an issue. It was semi-hepatotoxic. Now, they think that it's doing this through an implied bile restriction. So it's making it so you don't produce bile as well, which could essentially cause a backlog in the liver, making it more toxic. Now, here's the thing: if you're over 50, your liver does not regenerate nearly as well as when you're younger. So by taking Kava, something to simply try to calm you down, you're compromising your liver. It's not a good idea, especially when there's simple things that you can take instead. I would highly recommend taking magnesium instead, simply because magnesium has been shown multiple times to contribute to higher levels of GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, in the brain, which will, quite frankly, in my opinion, probably give you a better calming effect than something like Kava or alcohol for that matter. So a few hundred milligrams of the right kind of magnesium, magnesium glycinate, dimagnesium malate, those are going to be a better option for you. The next one we need to talk about is calcium. Do not take a calcium supplement. Look, calcium is important, but you should be getting it from the diet. The American Society of Nephrology took a look at over 6,000 patients, and they found that when their diet was rich in calcium, they had less instance of cardiovascular disease and less instance of kidney stones, okay? However, if subjects took a calcium supplement, it was the opposite. They had a higher instance of kidney stones. So what gives? They're getting calcium either way, right? Well, my theory behind this, and this is probably pretty well vetted, is that when you're taking a calcium supplement, you're having this unopposed mineral. You're having tons of calcium coming in with nothing to, have that natural protective balance, right? Calcium and magnesium, for example, balance each other out. Too much calcium and magnesium can't really do its job. Too much magnesium, calcium can't do its job. They always kind of cancel each other out and keep each other in check. So when you take a calcium supplement, well, guess what? Calcification. It calcifies, and it's been shown in other studies to contribute to coronary vascular disease. Okay, again, calcification of the arteries, right? So when you look at kidney stones, it's clear as day. You get these calcium formations. So what do? Well, don't take a calcium supplement. Get your calcium from your diet, but more importantly, get your vitamin D in, because vitamin D is going to allow the calcium to get to the proper place. Calcium is not bad. It just needs to be in the bone, not in the blood, causing problems. It's also excitatory, which means that it triggers kind of a stimulus. It makes it so you're the opposite of relaxed. So you could also take a magnesium supplement to kind of calm you down. So I know this sounds like a lot of magnesium push, but to be completely honest, it's important for everybody. But the best thing you can do from a diet perspective is get calcium-rich diet, okay, like good sources of fish and meat and things like that, and get vitamin D, again, from good sources of fish with the skin and the bones, or just get some adequate sunlight, of course. Okay, this next one we need to talk about is a really important one, and it's kind of odd because you would think you need to be taking it. Vitamin E, vitamin A, and other antioxidants to an extreme. Okay, back in the 90s, there was this huge push to take lots of antioxidants. And I understand it and I appreciate it, and I think there is a place. Okay, antioxidants, yes, we need to be getting, but they are a supplement to our diet, which should be rich in natural antioxidants, right? But the thing is, our body comes equipped with the ability to combat oxidative stress, and we need to let it combat oxidative stress. Otherwise, well, we get kind of weak, okay? Here's the thing, especially as you get older, your body needs to be exposed to a little bit of oxidative stress, just a little bit, so that it can continue to, well, develop how to overcome it. Think of it like this, okay? If you don't use it, you lose it. Or you all know that person that's perhaps elderly and they won't leave their house, and you keep on saying to your family, I'm afraid that he just sits there, he's just going to die, right? Well, you want to encourage them to get out and stay alive and stay active, and that's very important. Same kind of thing holds true for ourselves and for our cells. Now, the big piece with vitamin E comes down to mitochondrial dysfunction. We are starting to see more and more evidence that metabolic issues are the root of so many different diseases, specifically when it comes down to mitochondrial issues. The mitochondria is the energy powerhouse inside of the cell, and it needs to go through what's called biogenesis, meaning mitochondria needs to get stronger. The mitochondria needs to get more dense, and it can only get stronger and more dense if it's exposed to a little bit of stress now and then. Turns out that taking antioxidant supplements, specifically like vitamin E, well, it stops that. It basically slows down PGR1, which makes it so that you end up having less of a positive effect and less overcoming. Okay, you need your mitochondria to be able to overcome the stress. Now, if you take a dose of like 400 or 500 milligrams of vitamin E, you definitely cause this effect. But studies have shown that low dose, like 45, 50 milligrams of vitamin E that you might find in a typical multivitamin, actually enhances the effect. So the point is, we want to make sure that we're taking low dose vitamin E, vitamin A, or low dose beta carotene, not mega amounts of it to try to make yourself artificially healthier. What I would recommend in the way of antioxidants and something that you can consume is going to be 4-Sigmatic. They're a great kind of mushroom coffee adaptogenic blend. So the reason that I'm a fan of adaptogens is because rather than bringing something exogenous into your body, you are kind of encouraging the endogenous production of natural antioxidants and encouraging the endogenous sort of fight against free radicals. So I highly recommend you check out 4-Sigmatic mushroom coffee and mushroom cocoa and stuff like that down below. I'll put a link down below so you can check them out and get a special discount. Okay, the next thing we have to talk about is a huge one, especially in the Western world, and that's iron. You do not need to be taking excess iron unless a medical professional has told you that you need that iron. And even then, things are a little bit sketchy because how they measure iron doesn't necessarily tell you your storage form of iron. It only tells you your current blood levels of iron, which could be totally different from what your storage form is. Here's the thing, iron carries oxygen, which means it has an affinity for oxygen, which means it has a high chance or a high likelihood of becoming oxidized. You leave a dumbbell or some metal out in the rain, it's going to rust when it's combined with oxygen, right? It's going to turn rusty. That's oxidation happening inside your body too. Okay? We don't want this to happen too much because it's going to compete with other minerals that need oxidation, like magnesium and things like that. You throw yourself out of balance. The other thing is studies are starting to show that macrophages and different immune cells soak up iron. They thrive on iron. So sometimes it can trigger this inflammatory cascade, but pathogens also feed on iron. Okay? It likes oxygen and it can feed a lot of different things. We need that delicate balance and we need it in its storage form so it can be released when we need it, not just floating through the blood all the time oxidizing. So go easy on the iron supplementation. Eat iron-rich foods now and then, eat your meat, things like that, but make sure you're also getting adequate mineral balancing in through your magnesium and through your copper and stuff like that. Next up is one for men specifically, but women, don't skip this one because the next one's really important. Okay, selenium. Now, I talk about taking selenium, but I talk about taking selenium via a traditional food form, like through some Brazil nuts and things like that. You don't need much. The journal, the National Cancer Institute, had published a study taking a look at over 1,700 people, and they found that if they were in the top tier of natural selenium levels already and then took a selenium supplement, it increased their risk of prostate cancer 91%. Okay, so what this means, to break it down, is if you already have a good amount of selenium in your body, as in you're not deficient, and then you add more in via supplementation, you could be putting yourself at risk for prostate cancer. The reasoning we honestly don't know, but this is scary science. And when we look into the research, when I specifically looked into the research, it scared me away from selenium a little bit. So I keep it to the Brazil nuts that I'm normally going to consume to get my adequate amount, but that's about it. Okay, then the last one that I need to talk about is for women specifically, soy isoflavones. Avoid supplements that have soy isoflavones added to them. Okay, a lot of times after a woman goes through menopause, she's tempted to want to take in any kind of soy, right? Because it's a phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogens mimic estrogen within the body. Well, it turns out that phytoestrogens don't seem to have an effect on menopause. So they don't really matter there. However, they do increase the risk of what is called ER breast cancers, which is the worst form of breast cancer. So you definitely want to be careful there. Now, I'm not an oncologist, so I don't speak to this to a high degree, but I can say when you look at the research, generally speaking, almost always you should be avoiding soy isoflavones whenever possible. I hope this helped. I'll see you tomorrow.